Some fan theories are simply taken too far. They're often accompanied with little or no credible evidence and are sometimes unintentionally hilarious. Cyberpunk Edgerunners has left a lot of room for questionable speculation. For no reason at all, I went and researched the weirdest and most absurd Edgerunners fan theories guaranteed to give you cyberpsychosis.
You're degenerating rapidly! At this rate, you're gonna go psycho in a second!
Number 1. Cyberpsychosis is blackout. There's a lingering idea that cyberpsychosis is actually something called blackout, where a person loses consciousness along with possibly the memory of their actions afterwards. It's characterized by a sense of lost time. It can sometimes be caused by anger, and the person may enter a state of violent rage. While this can sound somewhat similar to cyberpsychosis, the biggest hole in this theory is that Edgerunners visually differentiate cyberpsychosis with the glitching eyes effect. They do this multiple times to establish the onset of cyberpsychosis, a disorder unique to the cyberpunk universe. This is a prevailing theme throughout the anime. The hobo cyberpsycho in episode 4 didn't look like he entered a state of rage blackout. He was annoyed at best. Also, if this theory was correct, there would be much less need for immunosuppressants, which the show places a great deal of emphasis on.
You're gonna be alright, right? Not gonna end up like...
Alright? What's that mean, alright, huh, kid?
Number 2. David almost beat Smasher. People have long been underestimating David's abilities at the end of Edgerunners. Jin Key, along with several others, believe David almost killed Smasher with the gravitational power of the cyberskeleton. This dude made putting down entire convoys of Militech and Arasaka fleets look like a walk in the park. Little is understood about the force generated by David's gravity ability, but we know it can instantly amputate body parts and crush people. We saw in the anime how David was able to single-handedly take out 2 vehicles along with the soldiers still inside them. This begs the question, when David used the gravity generator to stop Adam Sandler in episode 10, was he holding back? It's pretty clear he was beyond exhausted at this point and used up his last bit of strength to aid Lucy's getaway. So what if David hadn't been borderline cyberpsycho and exhausted? Could David have smashed the Smasher in one move if David had completed this attack? What do you think?
Don't make me laugh!
Number 3. Smasher loves David. Scrubcrusher69 says Adam Smasher actually never killed David. The blood was one of Arasaka's leaders behind him, killed by Adam. He did that so he can make out and love David and even get married later on. You guys never saw it, but Adam blushed when David looked him angry straight into his eyes. Happy ending. I see absolutely no issue with this. I honestly don't know why I didn't catch this sooner. And I'm pretty sure Mike Pondsmith already confirmed this multiple times. Number 4. Lucy was using David. All Might fan commented that he needs Smasher to kill Lucy, using her last breath to tell David she never loved him and used everyone to get to the moon. Her guilt over using everyone for freedom would explain her becoming emotionally distant and withdrawing from the group later in the show. Rebecca then comes in and tells David, "Papi, I always loved you for you." Rebecca and David kiss and Rebecca defeats Adam Smasher in the end. All Might fan goes on to say that Lucy kissed David at the end because she felt bad that he had fallen so deeply in love with her when it wasn't mutual. The reason she looks so sad in the end is because her getting to the moon for David means she was living for someone else's dream again, unable to break the cycle. Lucy using David to get to the moon is quite improbable, but remember she already duped him in episode 2, and it does seem a bit suspicious that she chose to stop going on gigs around the time when they had enough eddies to go to the moon. Rebecca calling David Papi needs to be made canon.
Don't you worry, I got your back.
Number 5. Cyberpsychosis was planned from the beginning. Intellectual BA states that cyberpsychosis may be a ploy for corpos to weed out the weak, leaving only the high-functioning cyberpsychos alive to serve as bodyguards. Corpos would be moderately chromed, and the rest of the population mostly unchromed, meaning they would pose little threat to complete corpo control. Others argue that cyberpsychosis was used as a weapon during the corporate wars. What we see now are the unwanted effects left over. It makes sense cyberpsychosis would have been created to be weaponized, as it targets the most cybernetically capable people, thinning the enemy's numbers from within. Jeff the Reaper believes cyberpsychosis is just a scare tactic to ensure corpos are the most optimally equipped people, and that the condition is nothing more than other pre-existing mental conditions. Labeling people as cyberpsychos makes people think it's okay to have them immediately eliminated, as opposed to helping them get treatment. Number 6. Adam Smasher is David's father. We never get any confirmation as to who David's dad could be. I've had several people bring up the idea that Adam Smasher could be David's biological father. Adam Sandler being David's dad would explain David's tolerance to cyberpsychosis. Given the fact that David has a 1 in a million resistance to cyberpsychosis, this could have been handed down by none other than Adam Smasher. With that said, Adam Sandler is described by Mike Pondsmith as being a high-functioning cyberpsycho, which is a different condition to David's resistance. David is canonically able to keep cyberpsychosis at bay longer than most people. control, while Adam Smasher is able to cope with cyberpsychosis and still remain in control. This difference, on top of there being no other evidence supporting this theory, makes it hard to believe.
You think you're special 'cause you're scrappy?
Number 7. Morgan BLACKHAND killed Smasher. My friend Sachi brought up the theory that Morgan BLACKHAND shot Adam Sandler at the end of Edgerunners. Militech had already sent out convoys of destructive vehicles after David. Who's to say they didn't send out Morgan BLACKHAND as well? Why would the Militech onslaught stop out of the blue? We know Morgan wasn't confirmed dead and that he's rumored to work for Militech. What if the blood splatter we see at the end is actually Morgan BLACKHAND killing Smasher? My biggest argument against this theory is that Morgan would have to have some major gonads to go after David, knowing full well it would be in Arasaka's turf and that Adam Smasher would be there. There's also zero concrete evidence for this, but some very fun speculation. Number 8. Army of David clones. This theory states that David had died, but that the cyberskeleton had a soul killer with a capture drive installed. This means Arasaka copied David's consciousness inside the cyberskeleton truck. Arasaka can now install copies of David into clones. Taking it further, the memories of the clones are reset to before his mom's death, making them more resilient to cyberpsychosis. This would create an army of highly tolerant David Smashers. This theory is somewhat believable. It's been an idea of mine that the actual product Arasaka was looking to test was the capturing software inside the Arasaka truck. David's consciousness being uploaded was the real test Arasaka could have been gauging. While this could be theoretically possible and would make for a killer season 2, there isn't any clear connection to this within the anime. Cloning is also one of those technologies that appears to be possible in the Cyberpunk universe but isn't mentioned very often. Number 9. Adam Smasher shot someone else. According to Hayden Gawley, Adam shot the body next to David. He assures us he's replayed it over and over again to confirm this. While I'm 1000% sure this is troll bait, let's think about this for a moment. This would explain David's smile before the shot. Does this mean Adam Sandler spared David of his own will? Was he ordered by Arasaka to spare David? Did Smasher shooting this elusive body next to David give him the time he needed to launch a counterattack or escape? Number 10. Gloria is V. I can't make this up. Super has brought up the theory that Gloria is actually V in Cyberpunk 2077. Despite the fact that I'm sure this is troll bait and there's literally no evidence to support the claim that David's mom is V, I'll let the comments section handle this one. Number 11. Lucy's trapped in a simulation. The ending of Cyberpunk Edgerunners was a simulation for Lucy. The fact that David Martinez himself told me this does give it some level of credibility. Did David Martinez go back in time, create a YouTube account, and comment on my channel in order to change his fate in Season 2? What do you think? Number 12. Adam Smasher's true identity. This 500 IQ theory argues that Adam Smasher is actually Adam Sandler. This, of course, has nothing to do with me making subtle innuendos throughout my videos. Punished Fiddle believes that after having acted in numerous comedy movies, Adam Sandler became immune to not only cyberpsychosis but any psychological illness. The idea of Adam Sandler being this OP and flatlining David is something we simply can't unsee. Number 13. The entire show was a simulation. A handful of people have brought up the idea that the entire show is a BD. Since we're able to find the brain dance for the first scene of the show within the game, GC3PR brings up the possibility that the entire show could be a stylized brain dance simulation. The proof could be interpreted either one of two ways. Either he means that the BD including only the first scene from the show means the entire thing was a brain dance to begin with, or he means that Chuck Norris's fate is so strikingly similar to David's that it's possible the events of Edgerunners was some form of fabricated simulation. David's story begins and ends with the exact same shot of Night City. Since we know the first scene was a BD, these intentionally paired shots could allude to the entire show being a BD. If the entire show is a brain dance, from whose perspective were we seeing it this whole time? Duralho has theorized not only that the entire show was a simulation, but that David was the one watching it, and used this newly found knowledge to become a legend of Night City and still survive. Based on the conversation with Falco in the game, and the fact that we can get both Rebecca's shotgun and David's jacket, we know something similar to the events of Edgerunners must have occurred, most likely disproving this theory. Number 14. Alternate timelines of David and Lucy. When Lucy escaped the Arasaka facility where she was forced to scavenge the old net, she woke up in a junkyard. Noragami18 theorizes that David would wake up in the same junkyard at the start of Season 2. Either this theory implies that David survived the battle at the end of Episode 10 and happened to wake up in the exact same junkyard somehow, or this is some alternate timeline theory where he lives out Lucy's life instead. Number 15. David didn't die in episode 10. This theory is much more philosophical. It states that David didn't die at the end of the show. He died in episode 8 when he shot the innocent scientist's mother. It was at this point David stopped being David and became a monster who forged the same suffering on the innocent child, just like the goons at the beginning of the show did to him. The rest of the anime is simply a shell of David. Figuratively and philosophically, this theory holds a lot of weight.
You did? Cool, good.
Number 16, V is actually David. And Caravan is convinced that the V in David actually stands for V from the game. Other than that, I haven't seen much more on this theory. The fandom wiki says V is for Valerie or Vincent, and V seems completely oblivious to the events of Edgerunners at the start of the game. The only way this could be true is if David was somehow reconstructed and had his memories wiped. Number 17, it was all a dream. Similar to the simulation theory, this theory states that David will wake up and still meet Lucy. When David wakes up is debated among the fans of this theory, but Shadow likes the idea of David waking up to still being with his mom. This means David has a second chance to support his mom and do everything he never did with her for character development. While this could serve as the happy ending we'll never get, this is some military grade copium. Number 18, profound metaphor. Some viewers think I'm overly analytical, but let's analyze that for a second. Pexodus discovered that David taking a doo-doo actually signifies him flushing away his past. Naturally, I fell in love with this. Telling Pexodus he gave me my next video idea and asking him what the next thumbnail should be, he responded with David on the toilet. Perfection. Number 19, Sasha did not die. Not only did Sasha survive an explosion and landing several stories onto a car, but this theory argues that she went on to kill Smasher at the end of episode 10. While this would be great timing for David and explains his smile at the end, it brings up some pretty big questions. What was she doing this whole time then? Wouldn't Maine have mentioned she wasn't confirmed dead? I'd also like to include the theory that Sasha is David and Lucy's daughter. Given that the events of her life told through the music video for Let You Down are a prequel to Edgerunners, yeah, I'd say this is a bit of a stretch. Number 20, Smasher has a secret weapon. Saber the Noob brought up how both David and Chuck Norris leave a trail of normal motions when using the Sandevistan. They still have to use their limbs to move around. In the shot where Adam Sandler matches David's Sandevistan, however, we see both David and Smasher move with a gliding motion instead. It's understandable that David can move this fluidly since he has built-in thrusters and gravity controls to propel him, but Smasher also moves with this same fluidity, despite him not having any visible thrusters or gravity-functional cyberware. The reason? Adam Smasher is wearing omnidirectional Heelys. That's right, he got me, and he got me good. I wholeheartedly thought he was onto something here for a second. Which of these theories did you find the most convincing? Which one's the most ridiculous? Hit me with your most absurd theory, share this video with our fellow chooms, consider donating to support the channel, and check out some more of these in-depth Edgerunners videos.